Haley's Advantis has been in the logistics space for over 60 years.
Two main really energetic and growth economies are India, of course, and there is Bangladesh.
India, if you are entering, you need to look at long term. When Sri Lanka apparel industry is about $6 billion, Bangladesh, it's about $40 billion. Even as of now, today you see a double-digit growth rate of e-commerce business world over. Whilst troubles, disruptions makes logistics difficult, it also creates a greater opportunity for the logisticians to bring their services into light. And that journey we will do with our three stakeholder groups, our customers, our service providers, as well as our principals.
Hi everyone. Haley's Advantis is the transportation and logistics arm of Haley's PLC. With over 6 decades of industry presence, Haley's Advantis is the leader in terms of transportation and logistics in Sri Lanka, South and Southeast Asia. To discuss the global expansion plans of Haley's Advantis, I have with me Dr. Asanka Ratnayake, Deputy Managing Director of Haley's Advantis. Welcome, Dr. Asanka.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sri Lankan companies, particularly after the economic crisis, have realized that they need to expand globally. And our shows are too small, as a market. Haley's Advantis has been there for around 60 years now, right? And it seems like they will be a very good natural partner for those companies that want to expand beyond Sri Lanka. How do you support such enterprises, and what can they expect from a partnership with Haley's Advantis?
Haley's Advantis has been in the logistics space for over 60 years. And we embark on our journey of overseas expansions nearly 2 decades ago for a couple of reasons. One is to achieve that next phase of our growth, the maturity that you were reaching in your domestic market, and also the opportunities what is opening up in the regional markets. So our value, I would say, is gamut of knowledge in the logistics space. When we say we are a logistic player, we are clustered into 5 areas. We are a large agency house, which we call it as our international freight management cluster. We are into integrated logistics. That's where we play in the space of warehousing and freight. Then we are into project cargo handling. We are into marine, asset owning plus service operation. And also we are into aviation and travel. So it is that IP of intellectual property of handling those businesses that we take overseas. So I would say anyone who wishes to partner, we would be ideal player to reckon with.
And also the relationships that you all have established. I think that is also very important.
You are very correct there. Our relationships, most of them runs into decades, more than 3-4 decades. And that's something we really value. When you say relationships, I'm not only talking about the relationships with principals, but relationship with our customers as well as our vendors. So we really work as a partner as opposed to being a service provider, whether it is a customer or a principal or even supplier.
When you look at specific markets, let's come to our immediate neighborhood. So if you look at the South Asian region, the two main really energetic and growth economies are India, of course, and then there is Bangladesh. Both there are a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences as well, and complexities as well. Having partnered businesses that are successful there, in your view, what are the key characteristics that you must look at when you're entering those two markets?
You're very correct in saying that these markets are different. For that matter, I would say that every market is different to another. Not only these two markets, and particularly talking about India and Bangladesh. India plays a huge role for Sri Lanka now.
Of course.
And it has its natural growth that it has achieved over the years and nicely set to take it to the next level. One large sector is the domestic market, which is large. Secondly is also the India's dominance in every industry in a global space. So if one is talking about India, it need to look at long haul. India is not a market where you can go in and turn around and make money in short term, in 2 years, 3 years. No. India, if you are entering, you need to look at long term. On the other hand, Bangladesh is another important market. If I bring parallels like what is common to us, when Sri Lanka apparel industry is about $6 billion, Bangladesh, it's about $40 billion. And they have now become the world's second largest apparel exporter. So particularly coming from a logistics space, that becomes a natural and an important market. And with the growth of the middle income in Bangladesh, Bangladesh is becoming a very, very important market for any player to get into.
What learnings have you all had in these two markets in terms of successful entry strategy or partnership? What are the things that you should be mindful when you enter those markets?
One, I already mentioned, if you're entering a market, international market, you need to look at long term. Short term is not the way to look at for an international market. You also need to identify your USP, your place in that market, right? How can you differentiate yourself compared to the rest? It is truly important also to look at how much of staying power that you have and what value you intend to create to your customers and your business partners and your service providers. It is also important to look at your partner strategy. You need to partner with the right mindset, right appetite holding partners. Because if there is a difference in that selection criteria, usually, you're going to find it challenging in any overseas market.
Very, very valuable advice, and thank you, I think, for whoever is wanting to enter those two big markets. Moving out a little bit outside, so Southeast Asia, you have had long-term, partnerships and relationships in a very large market like Indonesia, but also very high net worth, and also regional center like Singapore. For Sri Lankan companies that are looking to venture out to those two markets, and I know quite a few are, what sort of advice would you have in terms of because they're two completely different markets, in terms of size, in terms of also purchasing power?
So I would say Indonesia is somewhat similar to India, where it's a larger population. Of course, your challenges are different simply because of the geographical domain that it multiple islands being there. And particularly if you are coming from a logistics space, you need to have multimodal capability if you are looking at adding value in Indonesian market. Contrary to Singapore, we selected Singapore as our headquarters and investment vehicle location. Plus, we also have a running operation there. And Singapore becomes an important market if you are playing in the Southeast Asian region because most of the companies are headquartered there. So if you have a presence in Singapore, when you are tapping into those multinational customers in the Southeast Asian region, that presence in Singapore adds value. So Singapore also becomes a critical market for us because we have our footprint in the rest of the other markets.
Excellent. And it is the regional hub for Southeast Asia, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, moving a little bit further up to other parts of ASEAN, countries like Myanmar, countries like Thailand, they have very long historical ties to Sri Lanka. There is a shared heritage in terms of Buddhism, in terms of culture, in terms of food, and also the fact that we haven't really conquered those markets. No, there is that potential that needs to be there. So if you are looking at Myanmar or Thailand, how would you advise them to sort of partner, and how do you go about it?
We already have our footprint in Myanmar market. In fact, after our expansion into Maldives and then India, which happened parallelly, our third market that we entered was Myanmar market. And I would say we entered the Myanmar market at the right time, 2014-15, when the market was getting into a democratic path. Unfortunately, the current political environment slowed down that excellent growth trajectory it was showing. But I'm very confident that the market will pick up back again. So Myanmar, we have our footprint, and it's again the larger size of a market for anybody to enter, whether you are in service industry or in manufacturing. Domestic market is big enough, and a lot of exports happen out of there. So it's a market that to keep an eye on. Because of the challenges that Myanmar was facing, we were able to bring certain value to the customers based out of Myanmar using cross-border transportation. And that we were able to do because of our footprint in the rest of the markets. Thailand to Myanmar is like the elder brother. They depend a lot in Thai economy and the supplies. And we were actually able to support the Myanmar market with because we had our footprint in the rest of the markets.
Excellent. And in case of Thailand, we have a free trade agreement, not fully operational with Thailand now.
Yeah.
And also Sri Lankans can visit Thailand now. Visa regulations are also there. So I think exciting opportunity there.
Indeed. And in the hindsight, I was happy to see that some of the manufacturing markets are moving into Thailand because they are beginning to realize the important and the access to raw material in the market. So it's good to see that companies are entering the market now.
Excellent. You mentioned Maldives before. Very small market, but also purchasing power parity is quite high. They are very close neighbor of our country. They've had a lot of economic integration. A lot of Maldivian politicians have studied here. Business leaders have studied here. They live. Some of their families live here. So how has your entry been to Maldives, and what can others learn from your experience?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned before, one of the first market for us to enter in terms of overseas markets was Maldives. And that too happened with planned strategy. When we realized that we have a strong footprint with some of our partners, particularly the principals, we realized that we can serve them not only in Sri Lanka, but also going beyond, which is Maldives. And Maldives is a nice niche market. And when we entered the market 20 years ago or more, we realized it was served by many unorganized sector service providers. When I say unorganized, say if you are looking at a shipping service, there was no reliable service that was available in the market. If one sailing happens this week, there was no guarantee when the next sailing would be. So we went and brought in that organized service into the market. We started scheduled feeder service. We started, serving customers on a Friday, which is a holiday, but internationally it's a working day. Like that, we brought in that organized service. So, in fact, we have added a lot of value to the overall Maldivian economy because all the services that we operate in Sri Lanka, which I mentioned before, is we serve in the Maldivian market now.
Excellent. You've mentioned about the regional markets you're in. So two questions to conclude. The first one is about the outlook for the logistics and transportation sector. There's a lot of disruption in the world. And with your experience, what assurances can you give the world that, and this country that we will keep, the logistics and transportation sector will keep powering our economic growth in the future?
I would say that supply chain and logistics did not have its due place up until COVID.
Yes.
It was the COVID that people began to realize how much of an important role the supply chain and logistics plays in day-to-day life as well as in the overall economy. So whilst the manufacturers do their core business and service providers use their core area, logistics plays that entire integration part of bringing the service from a manufacturer into the consumer. Classic example is the boom of e-commerce. Even as of now, today you see a double-digit growth rate of e-commerce business world over. So, whilst troubles, disruptions makes logistics difficult, it also creates a greater opportunity for the logisticians to bring their services into light. And from a consumer point of view, I will have to say is whatever matters across, logistics will find its own way to bring the goods to the final consumer. So cost is something what can happen due to the disruptions. Cost can escalate, cost can decrease, but logistics will find its way, the goods to the from the manufacturer into final consumer.
Excellent. I think that's the assurance businesses in Sri Lanka need. Our discussion today mainly was around, Advantis' role, expansion role in South and Southeast Asia, and how companies can partner. And you mentioned all that you've done so far. But what does the future look like in terms of Advantis and in South and Southeast Asia, and what partnerships are you looking to create in the future as well?
So from a perspective of our regional expansion, we are different. We have identified how we are different. I would say we are different in terms of our service portfolio. We are a company that can offer end-to-end logistics in multiple angles. So I haven't come across a single company in Sri Lanka or in most of the regional markets who has that entire gamut of services that we can provide. We are backed by a very reputed large conglomerate, Haley's, and its governance practices. And thirdly is our people. We are ordinary people who do great work. So that's the three pillar strength that we take it to overseas markets. Secondly, we have also realized that our next phase of growth has to come from the regional markets. So adding our strength, keeping our focus in our overseas markets, our next year's focus surely will be in the overseas markets. We are in large sector of markets. If you look at between Indonesia to India, we are talking about couple of billion population. Our first strategy would be to stabilize and grow in these markets, which is through acquisitions. And whilst doing that, we will also keep our eyes open on our regional markets, rest of the regional markets, like the Cambodias, the Laos, the Nepal, and Malaysia, to tap into whatever the opportunities. And that journey we will do with our three stakeholder groups, our customers, our service providers, as well as our principals.
Dr. Ratnayake, you mentioned all the South and Southeast Asian countries that Advantis is functioning in. What sort of services do you provide in these markets?
Yeah. So let me first talk about our portfolio of services. So one of our key business and the initial businesses that we started is our agency services, which we provide to various global principals. Secondly, integrated logistics, when I say integrated logistics, I'm talking more about warehousing, inventory management, freight, distribution, last mile delivery, that entire end-to-end gamut of freight solutions. Then we are in project cargo handling. Under project cargo handling, we talk about movement of any large piece of cargo, which is a windmill blades to power plants to turbines to whatnot. And then our marine services, owning assets and also operating services, and our aviation and travel services being the last. So under aviation and travels, we are a large GSA company, and also we handle inbound and outbound travel. So these 5 sectors at different levels, we offer in the markets that we have our presence. So in Maldives, we have this entire gamut of services. India, multiple services. Bangladesh, multiple services, and so on and so forth. So any customer who wishes to obtain these services at different levels in the markets that we have our footprint can be served. Services can be obtained.
Dr. Asanka Ratnayake, thank you for sharing Haley's Advantis' global expansion plans, and I wish you all the very best in all your future endeavors.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure to be part of this.
Thank you.